So I'm going to call the meeting to order with the roll call. Bill Groves, Commissioner.
Susan Dowling, Commissioner.
Michael Whitehouse, Commissioner.
Robert Forrest, Commissioner.
George Matheno, Commissioner. You see me?
Yep, I see your name, Leanne.
Oh, Leanne Aubrey, liaison from the RTM.
Very good. So we do have a quorum and I'll get the meeting started. Lauren, when we start, do we have anything for public communications?
We don't.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the approval of the meeting, the minutes for the March the 3rd meeting. Everyone have a chance to review any additions, changes?
Ask Susan.
Yeah. Lauren, I just have one question. It says here, and maybe that was the time, as I know it changed. It has invitation extended to present to the town council on May the 3rd, and my calendar shows April the 26th. Was that changed in the interim, or?
I think initially it was May 3rd
Okay.
and then it was changed. So I can go back and see if it was changed before the minutes, but I'm pretty sure that it was May 3rd at that time.
That's fine. So the minutes are correct as stated, but I can go over that in the chair report for the update on that.
Great.
So hearing no changes, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting minutes are approved. Moving on, Groton Business Roundtable update. We had the opportunity to go over to Robert's office. Sam, Paige, Lauren, and Robert, myself all met to see the venue and such. Exceptional facility, I would say. Nice on your part, Robert. Someplace I'd like to hang out in the summertime.
Thank you.
So it seemed to fit exactly what we're looking for to encourage businesses to come. But with that, I'm going to pass over to Sam because for where we were with the logistics and timeframes and such. And I'll let him to take that up, and then we can have a discussion on it.
Sure, thanks, Bill. So we're going to be aiming for the 4th Thursday of every month. Obviously, we're going to have to work to get momentum and consistency, but aiming for that date means that we can try to schedule a few out moving forward and create an expectation among the businesses that this is going to happen. If they can't make one, maybe they can make the following months. It's going to run from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. The first meeting would be this coming April 28th. And what we're going to do over the next few weeks is move ahead with the promotions. A lot of that's going to be digital to begin with. We certainly could use all the help we can get on that. And we're also, open to being creative on that, but we will definitely hit up our business, the email list that we have, and Lauren will put together a flyer that we can distribute, and then you guys can distribute to your networks.
Yeah, so one of the things we discussed, which I thought was a good idea, because I use it myself, is when I schedule my weeks and such, is to put it in calendars. So to come up with a way of basically doing an invitation to the businesses that we speak to. And that's another good opportunity to take in emails, because, this is really a business-driven approach. We're not coming up with a topic that's for them to decide on what they want to discuss. Michael will be leading it in the way of as a moderator. And we don't want to really kind of force agendas here, but when people want to, we go out to and say, yeah, that's something I might be interested in. It's a good time frame, early morning, coffee, and pastries. Get the email so we can send them an invitation, because that way it can get into your schedule. I swear by my schedule. I look at it every single day before I go home. I know what's coming up. And that way it's kind of right in the forefront of me. So to come up with a plan of how to really engage these businesses. And I think that approach that we take to the businesses that we talk to is get them involved that way. I think this is the type of thing, if they find it to be of value, it will spread through others to the point where it would be nice where we can start limiting participations. but we're not there yet. So as I said, Sam is right on. We were trying to get creative in that first meeting. But going forward, the more ideas, the better, to make this something where businesses can come together and really direct to us where their challenges are, successes are, whatever. So comments by anybody?
Where's the first location?
The location is 404 Robert, Thames Street.
Yeah, 404 Thames Street, fourth floor.
It's
Fourth
very
floor.
nice.
There's good parking in the back. There's an elevator up. When the weather's nice, he has a beautiful deck that overlooks the Thames River and kind of showcases all the possibilities that we have down there, from Groton City standpoint. So it looked like a great venue for businesses to come together.
One minor thing I might add, when you first go and you go in the parking lot, you have to go to the front of the street entrance, right, Rob? Because
Correct,
you
yeah.
can't enter from the back, just so everybody knows, because I've been there and it's initially the first time it can be confusing, but it's a beautiful office space and really very
Thank you.
generous of Rob. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions or input or ideas, anything we have?
Did you say there's gonna be a physical flyer produced as well?
Yeah, did we decide on a card or a flyer?
I think we're gonna stick with a digital flyer for right now. I
Okay.
can imagine that getting put together for early next week and getting it out to each of you to be able to distribute in whatever way you guys see fit. As far as a printed flyer, we're open to that idea. If there's support for that, we'd certainly consider it.
Because with a card, I can, give that out at networking events, like live in-person networking events and whatnot. So
I'd
but
say-
it should be month agnostic. So it should say something like every fourth Thursday.
So let's go this first time with the digital and if the need comes, and that way we can do maybe smaller orders, because there's no reason to print a whole stack of cards that aren't going out. I think the key to it is to try to get the emails to send the invites, and I know we've had some problems collecting email addresses, but it's a perfect, hey, give me your email address, and that way I can send you an invitation, have an invitation sent to you. So any way we've been trying to build that email list is a plus. And also if they want to invite someone else and someone else that want to be included, we have our cards. Please use your business cards as liberally as you want to, because that's what they're for. So.
And Lauren will have the master email list once everybody, obviously shares that with her. Is that the goal?
Yeah, everything goes to Lauren, correct.
Okay.
And then, of course, the next meeting will report, what the attendance was and such like that. And then, as I said, I think this is more of something we'll see evolve, and as ideas come up, we can attack it a little better. But this is kind of our beta, the starting with it. So see how it
That sounds
goes.
good. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Anything else?
we're
Leanne,
not-
you have something? Oh,
Pardon me?
Oh, I thought you had something to say. Go ahead.
But
Michael?
I was
Oh.
just going to say, if I might, you're recreating the GBA, and that makes me very happy. We used to have a Groton Business Association that met every month.
Mhm.
So go for it.
Yeah, and we're not checking passports at the door, right? If their business is on the Stonington side of Mystic or Ledyard and they want to be part of it.
At this point in time, no.
Okay, yeah, because my email list is I have a Southeast Connecticut business email list.
I've seen plenty of businesses from the Stonington side actually open businesses on the Groton side. So
That's what I was thinking too.
Let's be inclusive at this point in time. The best case scenario is we get to the point saying, we have to limit it to 20 people, and we already have 20 signed up, maybe next month. I don't see that happening up front, but let's hope for that.
Yep. Or open up more days.
Let's not take on more dates at this point.
One step at a time.
Right. Anything else?
Great.
All right. As I said, this is something I'd really like to see us get behind. And I think there is a need for this. We just have to make them aware of it is the key for the EDC standpoint, is make people aware that this is a service that we're trying to promote for their benefit, not for ours. And we might get great ideas out of it on top of it. So
So just to reiterate, it's 8 to 9, the 28th at Rob's. Is that correct?
correct. 404 Thames.
Well, yeah, okay. And is any communication going to go out from the department, or is it just gonna, everybody write it down right now so they remember?
I could have Lauren send out an email to everyone as with all the parameters, just so you have them.
Yeah, that's
And,
good.
you know, but I think reminders are always good. And as I said, emails to her, that way we make sure that they get the invitation to it. And then there's a
Yeah.
confirm that way.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, I'll be away.
Yeah,
that-
George.
That week, so unfortunately, I can't attend Michael's affair that day.
Well, the beauty of it is it's going to be every month. So there's the 1 month you miss, you can be there the next one. Perfect.
I'll be there when Robert organizes the food service there as well.
Well, it
Well,
doesn't mean
definitely
you
the-
can't talk it up between now and there, George, because I know you have the contacts out there.
Well, you know, he looks across Garbo's, so to speak.
Exactly.
The sign is sticking out right in front of him.
He's got, I'll tell you, it's incredible view. I might
can
come by
have it-
boat.
You can have a drink. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Mimosa.
Yeah,
Isn't it
8 o'clock
lovely,
meetings,
Leah,
I don't know.
This has come one big circle back to the GBA.
That's
Okay, to
it.
keep
For so many years.
to keep the meeting moving, for new business, as Susan had mentioned earlier, the in-person meetings, they're reinstating in-person meetings. Of course, this is still, I got an email from Paige today that they're also doing the HVAC system in the room, so there are always things. So
Jeez.
we're gonna try to shoot for our May meeting to be back in the annex. It'll be a hybrid. I think we have to provide both Zoom capability and correct me anytime you want, Paige, but a Zoom capability and also in person. I would encourage the commission to participate in person because it's been a while since we've been together anyway. But if there's some reason you can't, you have the ability to join that way also to maintain the quorum and such. So that would be May the 5th, I believe, is what we're shooting for. But then again, I don't know why we couldn't do it, even though that the HVAC's under construction, but maybe there's something that comes up and we don't have the space to do it. So Paige, go ahead.
I just wanted to affirm what you just said. Lauren and I were talking about this today, and when I first saw that email from Public Works, I said, oh, we're gonna have to push this out, but we've learned a couple things. Basically, we could hold a meeting in that main room, the large room, CR1, without having the benefit of air conditioning or heat. So that is an option. We were looking at the medium-sized room, which is CR2, at the far end of the building, but that is taken. That's already committed for. So we're still working on it. I think the goal, if that's okay with the EDC, is that we try to tentatively have our meeting at the annex in May. I believe that that's possible, and let Lauren and I try to work on logistics.
Well,
Sure.
that's how I'd like to proceed with it. Right now, as it is, we'll be meeting in person on May the 5th, barring any other issues that might arise. The one that came up to me is that they're working on it and we don't have the ability to do the Zoom portion, which I think is a requirement. But I'm not going to go that route. So just everyone plan on being in person, our next meeting. And if anything changes, we'll of course give you far enough advance notice beforehand.
It's a good goal. I had my first meeting in my office with a client after 2 years of not being able to open it to the public. So that was today, which was nice.
Yeah, the bank people that have been home just started, I believe, on Monday, and they're incorporating some type of hybrid model. For someone that's been in his office for the past 2 years, I don't know any difference, but maybe they'll start answering their phones. I don't know. We won't be disturbed with people getting, their Amazon deliveries in the middle of a conference call. That was always a great one. So,
That's funny.
okay, so May the 5th it is for in person, which it'll be nice to see all your faces in person. Next on new business, this was in our package. I've gone through it. This came from the town council in particular. It was proposed by Councilor Franco, who used to be one of our liaisons from the council. And what she's kind of looking for, it looks, is the request for discussion or action from our standpoint, vacant property program referral to Economic Development Commission. I read through it and I kind of, it gave me more questions than answers of what they're specifically asking us to do with this. It's really that the businesses that are vacant at this point in time, and are they planning on a reopening, or what are they doing, and are there incentives we can do? As I said, there are more questions of how we're supposed to do something with this than I had answers.
So,
Did
Bill,
it-
I think I have some insights of what Rachel's thinking, because we spoke about this some time ago. I think basically the idea is to see if there's a way to use policy to incentivize the use of vacant spaces, because there's a lot of spaces that have been vacant for a very, very long time, and the holding cost of those vacant spaces is very low. So there's no incentive for the landlords to necessarily do anything, sell it, fill it, do anything with it. And so the idea was to create some sort of, I guess they're calling it a fee. Yeah, some sort of fee that escalates over. So the first, I don't know if it'd be per year or month or whatever, but so the first, say, year, for example, is something nominal, $100, but the next year it might be 500, and that goes up. So if they're just letting it sit there, it gets expensive. But then you create ways that are positive for the community, that they can make it be used, whether it's renting it out or letting it be used for craft fair or public events or whatever, but just gives them an incentive to either put it to use, rent it out, or sell it, as opposed to land banking properties in our town, which it seems like some may be doing. And so I believe this is asking us to look into it and figure out what would work, what would not work, what would be positive for business, what would not, so that once they do something with it, it's a well thought out plan, as I
Well,
understand.
she also pulls into it the residential neighborhoods. So and just off the top of my head, one of the aspects of spaces that aren't being utilized, that we institute a fine or penalty or type of stuff, which I don't think necessarily is, I guess the town council could take a resolution on something like that, but that's something that I've never heard of penalizing, unless it's going against some type of, they're breaking some type of code, I guess, but just because it's vacant, I don't know how. I'm looking more from direction. I guess my standpoint, and I'm gonna let Paige speak, is to refer it back to the town manager and saying, can we get a little bit more clarification on this, exactly what they're wanting the EDC part to be in this? Is it reaching out to the landowners and seeing what's holding, not doing it? I don't know. Paige, you have something said?
Yes, I certainly cannot explain the full intent on it, but I think it's been described fairly accurately so far. I've not spent a lot of time on it, and I think it will require some time and some additional clarifications. I would encourage the commission to look at the 3 examples that were provided. Portland, Oregon, make sure I said that right, Oregon, not Oregon, and Charlotte, North Carolina, and Long Lake, Minnesota, I had never heard of. Anyway, in just doing a simple review of what they had, what struck me, a few items, some of them did impose some annual penalties. I forget which one, but it was $150. I actually thought that probably was not going to make much of a difference at all to a property owner who's seeking to intentionally keep their property vacant. The other thing I noticed on a few of them, they had done a complete assessment as to what the cost would be to actually manage such a program. And some of them actually had additional staffing that had to be allocated. And the last takeaway for me was the comment, Bill already mentioned it, the combination residential and commercial. And on the commercial end, what I was thinking is there's a big difference between a property owner and operator of a business, and let's say a property owner as a landlord versus having tenants. So let me give an example. if we had a shopping center, for example, that's typically on one parcel, there may be some storefronts that are vacant, but some storefronts that are occupied. That parcel is not vacant. Opposed to a single out parcel that has one building and one business owned by the property owner. That one is a little cleaner than a property that has multiple businesses. So as you can see, this can get complicated pretty quickly, and I do think we probably need some further clarification.
I think one of the thought process was like that facility that we have with the former Pizza Hut that's been sitting there for so long, and it's just not, unlike the other shopping mall where you have some businesses and some are vacant. You can't control that, and even if it's a property owner, if nobody's willing to take up that space for whatever reason. Whereas like the Pizza Hut place is just sitting there for the last 7 years.
Yeah, I remember
No
that. I think it
attempt
was CVS did the same thing with CVS, kept theirs vacant. They're rebuilding at a different, the current location. Paige, what is that called when they deliberately leave a space? Oh, I can't remember. what it's
Demolition by
called.
neglect. or
No, it's a brown something. Oh,
Attractive nuisance.
Brownfield?
Are you thinking of Brownfield?
yeah, maybe. Is that what I'm thinking of, George?
No.
It's a different, that's a different thing
Okay.
altogether.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
remember because Chelsea Groton did something similar.
It's some control over the space, or I don't remember. Anyway, it's just,
Right,
it just
right.
want to be educated here. Okay.
Right. So the fact of the matter with Councilwoman Franco was trying to mitigate was we have all these empty lots of commercial properties. I think that's where her thought process is. Why aren't we really harnessing the tax value of those properties? And it is fine to give some of them certain leeway to look for businesses in the past, but this has gone on incrementally so many years have gone by in some of them that they have not made an actual attempt. And in some cases, you even have potential tenants in inquiry that was not even responded to for whatever reason. And there was no incentive for the property owner to even return calls to them, which again, it puts us Groton in a lot of a blight kind of situation. So that's what she was trying to address.
Do you know how
As
many
well as
properties
get some
there
revenue.
are? How many properties are we talking about? Do we have any idea?
Few dozen, I think.
And hey, going back to Paige's point, when you say
Wow.
properties or storefronts, I mean, we have properties that aren't, but that are they, but we also have storefronts, but the majority of that property is actually, there are people there.
Occupied, yeah.
You know, and let's not forget something is I've never been anywhere where if the demand is there for people to come in to bring their businesses, they will use these spaces.
Well, so here's a couple things to it that actually seemed very appealing as I saw the whole plan, which was, first off, it wouldn't be like $100 a year, it'd be like $100 a month. But if the property is used, one idea or version idea I heard, if the property is used, say 1 day a month, then it's counted as occupied for that day, and it's by unit, not by property. So if, for example, you own a strip mall and you can't get any tenants into it for some reason, well, if you have a flea market in there 1 day a month or an art festival or something, then the clock resets. So now it creates an incentive to let a nonprofit run their fundraiser in there, or to do something with the space, as opposed to right now, especially if you're an out-of-town tenant, an out-of-town property owner, you might it's just on your books. It's just sitting there rotting. You don't care. It's one of the properties that you're waiting for a call on. And it would make it unpalatable to own a property in Groton that is idle and empty and an eyesore, because it
Yeah.
costs you money. So you want to get rid of it. So you sell it, which is what we want.
But I would just say that, but to Bill's point earlier, I mean, I don't know that people that are allergic to money, if there was something that wanted to go into these areas, do we know that property owners are are not taking up business opportunities to utilize the property. And we have to really be careful here. Is this, illegal taking of rights, and this is property issues here? It's a messy whole conundrum to put.
I think it's what we're being asked to research, but I don't think it's taking the property, because simply it's creating an incentive to use it for something, anything.
Okay,
So-
well,
Yeah, but the owner has rights. I hear the point. I understand the objective, and I think
Yeah.
Councilor Franco's objective is a good one. I just think we need to really do some research as to what the underlying issues are creating the vacancies, and what action would be smart to incentivize.
Robert,
where
that's
I'd like
what-
to get the clarification on this from whether it's from Councilor Franco or is where do they see us fitting into it? Because I agree with a lot of the points, and I'm a business person, so I can look at any piece of property, and if you can give a reason why that's a profitable piece of business, someone's going to move into it.
Yeah, but I think if it's not profitable, it could be because it's not worth the risk to pay the $2,000 a month rent. But if they have a financial incentive to get someone in there, then they might say, we'll give you 3 months free to give your business a shot in there. Or, it changes the incentives from just keep it there with a big price tag on it until somebody with deep pockets shows up to rent it, versus we got to get someone in here because the clock's running on our vacancy fee.
And it's not necessarily deep pockets, so you can't say that. A lot of times it's capital expenditure, so you're not talking about little stuff. These places are still generating taxes as they are. They're just not generating the taxes. I go more from the standpoint of what we really, when I came on, is the sense of place. And the sense of place for Groton is behooves us to bring in businesses that want to improve the business across the street from me. Where we had a bank, we moved across the street because those landlords wouldn't work with us. We built a brand new building, and that's the type of stuff we're trying to incentivize. So I would rather work with the business owner saying, how do we get someone in here, as opposed to how do we penalize you for not getting someone in
Well,
here?
no, but I think that's actually a great example, is that particular property, which I think has 5 owners. So they're hard to reach, hard to work with. If they had a higher carrying cost, they might get to the point of saying, you know what, Groton's too expensive to keep this property the way it is. Let's sell it to someone else who's going to take care of that. And
But are there buyers out there for it? I mean, this
they can
is
give back to the
we have
town if
to
they can't find a buyer.
Well, there's a lot of clarification I'd like on this, because if we're talking incentivizing, well, how about why don't we look at incentivizing people to come in with their businesses as opposed to penalizing the people that own the building that it goes into? So
The problem is, it's not about business wants to come in. It's that the property owners refuse to provide attention to them or facilitate their interest.
in some
So,
cases,
going back
I
to
don't think
Robert's
that's the
point,
norm.
There are certain businesses in the last several years in the city of Groton, as well as in town of Groton, which Leanne is a better person to advocate for, that are allergic to money because that amount of money was offered was insufficient in their mind. So they rather wait for another year and wait another year. And this has gone on far too long. So yeah, they are allergic to money.
The problem, George, is that the property owner may have a capital structure that they can't afford to have a taxable event by, in the LLCs or whatever the structure they're holding their property. And we're getting into a really
No, I agree.
complicated area.
I agree. So the goal of Councilwoman Franco was have this forum at the EDC to explore all of this all of these complications, so that we have a forum to make that to whittle things down. And maybe Michael's mastermind affair on April is another good venue that Mike can table, and for us to all weigh and explore. I mean, we do not have the manpower in the EDC to do this.
Right. So let's leave with this, because I think everything we're saying is everyone has the right perspective on it, but I'd like a better clarification of what they're looking for us to be doing on this, as opposed to here's an idea. What do you think? Because let's face it, this is rely upon then the town staff to take their resources to get into a whole nother can of worms. And is that something where we want to prioritize right at this point or not? So,
So are you
Well,
passing
and
a
the other
motion?
fly in the ointment is basically COVID's created a, a vacuum in terms of the demand because of, virtual work, everything's changed. So I think that's part of the challenge.
right.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, I can make the
So are
other
you
case
passing a
saying, well,
motion, Bill?
if we build the housing that we have the shortage of, and we have the consumers now in Groton, not just transients that are coming in every single day, that makes a case for these businesses to put something in there. I mean, there's a
That's
lot of
building,
discussion that can go on this.
that's building. Yeah, that's building. That's true.
Yeah. So, all right, well, we'll leave it at that. I'm gonna send it back to the town manager for better clarification of exactly where they see us being involved with this, because I don't think it's something that is under our purview, but I just like better direction on it, and then I'll report back to you all.
Okay.
And go from there. So productive discussion, but it's just something that kind of came out of left field as far as I'm concerned, and I'd like further
Well,
clarification.
it's a good idea. It's a good
Sure.
idea.
Yeah.
Not
We may
adverse
be
to good
kicking
ideas.
Michael out of the annex because of that, but then it's okay.
Okay, next up, chair report, just going over a few things, and first and foremost is, I don't know if you all realize that Craig did submit his resignation. He had some very good reasons. I'm not going to share, but some of them were personal reasons. Some of them he put his time in, and I always applaud what he added to the EDC. With that being said, recruitment's really, it behooves us to go out and recruit people that we think are going to be a good fit and are willing to do some work and engage at the business at hand. And that's been the greatest challenge, because coming to meetings isn't what we're all about. It's actually putting together the business roundtables.
Community participation.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, and I had the opportunity, and I gave you my commitment when I gave the annual is, I'll be involved in the recruitment, because I think it's important to really get a real feel for somebody. And I had the opportunity of sitting down with Robert and Paige and stuff like that. And I can get a pretty good sense of if people understand what this entails. So it's that type of person that's kind of engaged and has contacts and really wants to try to have a positive impact on our business community, is what we're looking for.
We have 8 people right now. Bill, is it 8 members right now?
I think we have 7.
Oh, okay. So
that
we're
correct,
supposed to be at
Lauren?
9, right? We're supposed to be at 9.
We're supposed to be at 9.
We only have 7 right now.
We have
Okay.
what?
Maybe Michael Whitehouse could also help with this April 20th to put the word out then too.
I'm happy to talk to anyone that's interested, as long as they come in with the right perspective, as opposed to, yeah, I can do that, and thinking that they're committing an hour a month. So I know we have Craig's position to fill, and we also have David's position to still fill. Is there a third position to fill? No. So we just have those 2. And I think that the better we build people that come in to be active and not for nothing to take over leadership roles with inside the commission, because I think it's important that we switch that up. And this is my 3rd year of doing it. And I think it's good for someone else to take the reins on
Doing a
it.
good job.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know everyone
you're doing
says
a
that
good
because they don't
job.
want the
Come on.
job.
Don't whip out on us.
And it pays well.
And as I said, I'm encouraged by the conversations I've had with Robert and stuff like that there are people out there that actually bring that perspective.
Yeah,
So-
I think one of the challenges is finding the knowledge and time availability in the same person.
Well, guess what? I'm a very busy person myself, and
Yeah.
I know that the time availability of this is really kind of ties hand in hand with what I do for a living anyway. So
Right.
the meeting is 1 hour a night, a month. I meet with Paige and Sam and Lauren once a month to go over before the meeting. And the rest of the time is what I normally do in my professional career. So I never hesitate to talk about it.
Right, but in terms of recruiting people, that's I think that's some of the challenge is a lot of people who are in the thick of things. They're in the thick of their business, and a lot of businesses don't synergize with being an EDC member.
Oh.
Being a bank, bank manager does synergize very well. Being a restaurant owner might or might not synergize as well. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Right,
I'm willing to talk to anybody. How's that?
Yep.
So are we gonna maintain 9 members? Is that the goal to keep with the?
9 members is what the statute is. That's
Which-
by the
Oh,
town.
statute and not a bylaw?
It's in the thing, 9 members and
But
that's
that
how
can
it
be
works.
changed, right? You wanted to, okay. I didn't know, that's based on our bylaws, right?
Correct.
Okay,
I don't write those rules.
Wait, is it bylaws or town ordinance?
Town ordinance, I think.
oh,
is how we're
town
set up.
ordinance, okay, thank you, Mike.
That's how we're organized.
All right,
And we actually report to the town manager, not to the town council. That's who we're appointed by.
and the town manager appoints the commissioner, so,
Right.
that's, okay.
So working with him, he refers over, and as I said, I'm involved because I want to talk to people beforehand. So please get out there. Leanne, you're a great resource also. If you have someone out there that's pissed off about something in the business world, send them our way. We could use them.
I think you have one that if you stopped and thought about it a little bit, that's very upset with Groton right now, who's a business owner in Groton. You might want to talk with him. And if you can't figure out who that is, I'll tell you later.
We can do that offline. How's that?
Yeah.
Very good.
Justin's still on, right?
Justin's still on. Justin had an appointment tonight.
Okay,
So other thing is as we stated earlier, I will be presenting the annual report for us on April the 26th. I will report it as we agreed upon, but I also have some other input I'd like to convey over to the town council from my perspective as chair. Because there's some things going on that in discussions with Craig and stuff like that I think we need to get settled out here of exactly what the town council sees our place as the EDC. Because I think we've worked pretty well in the parameters and that they refer over to us, and we hit a lot of roadblocks that are of political nature, and we are not a political commission. We're here with our charge of being the outreach to the business community.
support to economic development.
Yep, and I think sometimes that gets a little bit put on the back burner standpoint and others things. So I leave it at that because I will speak more from my personal opinions and from my time on with the commission. Any feedback or anyone would like to be there to add, I encourage you to be there because this is our ability to voice some of these frustrations that I have with exactly what is our mission, what does the council see the EDC and how we fit into Groton, because at this point I'm getting a little frustrated with some of the feedback. So Paige, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Bill. I just wanted to remind the commission, I do this annually. I think that report obviously is a requirement. The presentation is not. And last year, there was not a presentation. Possibly not 2 years ago either. And I think that it is important for the EDC to appear before the council to present the report, but to also provide additional commentary. I think that helps build the relationship, and I would encourage as many EDC members as possible to participate in that meeting. It's important to demonstrate that the commission is definitely the advocate, the proponent of economic development in the town, because there are other boards and commissions that are certainly working it, and you're it in terms of volunteers representing the town on business and economic interests.
I think there's a misconception by people, whether it be in the community or town council or what have you, what our role is. We are an advisory commission. However, obviously we support the department and support economic development, but I think they think that we have more power in terms of, some sort of voting power. And I think there's some confusion. I think it requires some more education, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. And that's from the community standpoint. I'm looking also from the standpoint of the town council. You know, when I came on board, I heard across the board how we support economic development and how do we get our taxes, you know, the perfect example, or the referral, how do we increase these properties that aren't producing taxes? And I think we've done a pretty good job of being supportive of the staff that has done a great job. And but there's some other, the contentious issues that come up that we haven't been brought into, though we do have some discussions, but I don't remember once the council coming back and saying exactly what is the EDC's position on this and the benefits and such. We've been cut out of that aspect, and before you know it, it becomes a political, you know, hop, and we're sitting back going, well, we'd like to share on this because we have some input on this from an economic development standpoint. So that's some of my first. Leanne, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, when does the budget come up for EDC and planning? I've got it in front of me, but I don't have the night that you're going to be coming up. The reason I'm asking it is your presentation after that or before that?
I don't know when the budgetary stuff's done because we are not paid anything. So
No, I
yeah,
understand.
so Paige would have that.
Paige,
Yeah.
do you know?
Yes, we've actually already been before the council, and they supported the budget, I believe it was last week.
Oh,
We've yet to go to the RTM, but the operating budget has already been before the council and they supported the proposal.
okay. Because I was just going to say, whatever you're there for, you should have as many people there as you possibly can. Just even invite other people that care about economic development, because the council will be swayed by the amount of people that are sitting in the audience. Unfortunately, I'm trying to say this as politely as I can, but our council right now is politically driven. And, and if they see a group, they kind of back off a little bit because they don't know, you know.
The players.
So whatever there is that's going on, get your people to the meeting. And you can sit there quietly and just say, you know, who you're from, what you're from, and you're trying to follow their thoughts on economic development or whatever it might be. But you have to have a face, or they don't think about it.
Yeah, I'd rather not be the only face to see. Michael, your hands up.
Yeah. So I think part of what we're getting, what our reputation is getting tied up into is poorly executed communication plans of certain developers trying to work in and with the town. Is that polite and politic enough? So it's really the developer's job to communicate with the residents and the neighbors and to let people understand the value of their development and their proposals. But instead, because they're dropping the ball, we're left to kind of explain it, but it's not our job to explain it. We don't have the resources to explain it. But since we came out on the positive side of it initially, saying, oh, this might be good for economic development, as it tumbles through the public discourse without the guidance of anyone who knows how to communicate, people look at us and be like, you supported this? Why'd you support this? You know, it ends up being like a senator who voted for the Gulf War before the facts came out, and we're like, whoa, we just said it might be a good opportunity. We weren't in it. But we get caught up in these things. And I think first off, developers, and maybe we can help to guide them better, to not to help or hinder, but give them information on facts on the ground and people they should engage with and conversations they should have. But also just, I'm really surprised that they're not, you know, doing something to find out what's happening in the community. Like, this can't be the first local town they've worked in, unless they've had all their developments in the deep desert in the past. But yeah, just I think that's some of what we're dealing with now. And the other thing, as I was talking to someone else about this recently, it occurred to me that for many years we had a bunch of empty properties that just stayed empty and nothing was done about that. And then finally the town said, okay, let's do something about this. So we geared up and we brought in the right people who are going to get those properties marketed. And that turned one problem, empty properties that no one was using, into a new problem, developers with ambitious proposals that the residents were having pushback on. And so we is out of the frying pan into the fire. So we have a new challenge to deal with, a communications challenge that we haven't had to deal with before.
Okay, so I'll disagree on one point on that, Michael, is developers come in and they spend capital to do all this stuff and they do a pretty good job. What I have perceived and seen is that the process is out of the gate hijacked by a very small percentage of the population that's very loud, very vocal, and very driven by one issue that has driven the whole thing before we've even gotten to a point where we can have a presentation to the public. And I've been involved with it, and that's what that says to me is, as a developer, why do I want to go someplace that wants to fight me out of the gate as opposed to go someplace that seems to be more receptive?
But
So
as a marketer, I think that's on the developer for not being in front of that and engaging.
they
the
have
community.
been, and they still get
They
things. So,
try.
Robert, go ahead.
So one idea that I think we threw out a little before was having a sort of a customer service feedback form that everyone fills out, every developer, whether they're approved or disapproved, that comes before our commissions. How is the experience? How do they feel? We collect some hard data. I mean, whatever it is, positive or negative, and over time can present this to the council. That, you know, the politicians come and go, but over time we can collect sort of the character and nature of what it's like to deal with our systems, and then provide very good feedback to the town manager and the staff about the experience that can develop to drive some improvement. It's not an immediate fix, but it'll help get us out of the sort of opinion related stuff. That may be a good option.
We've done that before, but maybe I'm wrong.
And I agree with that. I think the data is good because the numbers don't lie, and it takes the emotion out of it. What
Yeah.
I get feedback from things is, one thing I'll say is the staff of the town has been given very high marks. They work very well with the people that are coming in, inquiring about properties like that. Where it gets a little sticky, and this is just from what I've observed, is it's not even getting to the point of the proposal that's not even a full plan. A proposal is attacked, and then these people are being attacked personally on top of it, and that's not a good tone to set for when you're trying to say, hey, Groton's a place where people want you to come in and spend some capital. But I agree with the data. I think that's always good.
And,
Yeah.
and I think if we get that
Yeah.
written, if they, in the feedback forms, more and more developers and more people that come to the town are saying that, and we collect that information, then it's actionable. I mean,
Correct.
you know,
That's not us saying it. This is the feedback we got, and I agree with that. It's
Yeah.
much more of a hands-on thing. Leanne, you have your hand up?
No, I'm sorry. I thought I had taken it down.
That is fine.
Yeah, Bill, let's say one thing on the communication side. I think some of the issues, some of the feedback I've heard of the way we communicate with the public through the forums and whatnot, is they feel like they're not heard. And it doesn't matter if they are heard or not. They feel like they're not heard. And if you feel like you're not heard, you yell loud.
All it matters. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we need to make sure we're creating environments where they feel like they're heard. They feel like it, because if you've got this tight format, you know, you can speak for 3 minutes, you sit down, they don't feel heard. If you have a place where they can speak at length and the developer will answer and there's more of a conversation, then you know, you can really get things out. You can clarify them. You can work them through. I mean, I've dealt with I've dealt with groups that have made the most hostile forum in Groton feel like 11, and we're still to work it out by basically taking off the time limit and saying we're going to hear everything you have to say, and we're going to stay here until you're done. And eventually they've said everything and you answered it. And is there anything else? No, I guess not. And then they have nothing else. There's nowhere else to go. They've already expressed everything.
There's an
They've had them
exchange
answered.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So you really just need to let them talk it out. 'Cause I think the
Yeah.
frustration stays, and then they go out in the parking lot afterwards like, "Hey, no one listened to us. We need to get louder. We need to go to the paper. We need to go to the Groton Community Forum. We need to make sure everyone knows about this because no one's listening." So
Good imitation.
Uh,
So if I may
That-
add, something to the dear chairman over here, Bill. Uh, Susan and Leanne and myself are probably the longest, we are the longest serving in the EDC, well beyond 12 years and still clocking at it. And I must say, in all these years, we've got the utmost exemplary members in the OPD, in the planning department, that has served this town well beyond my expectations. And I'm assuming both Leanne and Susan have seen
agree.
them in the past.
We're very
We are-
fortunate.
We are very, very fortunate.
Mhm.
And I know this is being recorded, and I want this to be a point of view of George Mathenow, that the people that we have are highly in demand. The quality of their work are extraordinary.
Mhm.
You can go around the 169 municipalities and try and find individuals of such caliber. And we will have to pay them far more if we could find them to work for us.
And they
To
have the
have
passion
these-
too.
Indeed, to have this public abuse for individuals who are politicking because it's a hobby and diminishing their effort, or even trying to relegate the effort that they are trying to do, of being such ignoramus individuals, in my opinions, who could not be satisfied unless they get their own NIMBY ways, should not be a Groton thing. It should not. We are better than that. We are lucky that our town is prospering, and we got smart individuals who would be picked up anytime by any of our other towns, if not another state.
That's true.
And I hope that they would stop picking on our town staff. It's not noble, it's not right, it's just making us look foolish in this digital age. Thank
Yeah, and
you.
I take every opportunity to, obviously speak highly of our department, because I agree with you, George, that they're not recognized for the work and the passion for the work that they do.
Just to add to that, George, I think that that's another reason why, if a well-organized feedback form to people that deal with the town is gonna bear that out. People who deal with the town staff and presenting projects and things like that. We're gonna collect the information so that you can highlight where the problems are in bringing economic development here.
We
It's
have
not
done
the
that.
staff.
Susan has
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. We did that a long time ago,
Yeah.
but somehow it gets all muddled up like a bloody salad on what the topic is. And that's my opinion. You
Or how to
can't
share the
find it down
information,
to a particular issue. And that's been our problem.
Yeah, and sharing the information. I think that was kind of where the weak link was.
I could go on and on about this because George, you're right on. We got a great department, and there's no two ways about it. From the Q&A standpoint of giving someone 40 minutes to sit there and scream and make personal insults, we're better than that as a town. And that's just a matter of, I want what I want, and I'm going to sit here and scream until I get it. I can talk to you just from the data center. I sat there for I don't know how many hours with the Conservation Commission. There were a lot of people that want to speak, so you cannot let one person sit there and put a presentation up because they want what they want. It was labeled as a Q&A session. Someone else made them think that they could sit and have the floor to make their points. I thought it was very thorough, and we came back with a list, and I thought there were some great points from people around there. We put a nice list together for the town council that I thought were all reasonable. The developer thought they were reasonable. It gets to the town council, those same 75 people that were screaming at us were there. And the next thing you know, that they deny it with prejudice. And we have so that's not how the process, as far as I see, from economic development.
There's
And that's
no
a
place
personal
in this
opinion.
land for anybody to go on and on and on.
Personal
Not even
opinion.
in the
That's
Supreme
thus
Court.
I want better direction from the town council of where they see EDC. So I don't want to go on and on and on about it. We could sit on it for hours. So
Yeah, but
Deanne
yeah,
has her
I
hand
would
up.
say that we do need to consider that what the implication of that is that the residents of our town, our constituents, shouldn't be talking so much. And
No, that's not what was said.
Well,
What
yeah,
was said is that it
that's
was-
one way one could interpret
When
it. But-
clearly you set a venue up and people have an agenda, they want to hijack the agenda. Everyone had an opportunity to speak. That's what a meeting is
But
supposed to be.
I mean, as someone who's been shut down on the timer and then ignored, I know my first instinct is I got louder platforms in this room. Let me go use them. So, we need to make people feel heard. It does not matter objectively if they were given a chance to speak. They need to feel heard. Otherwise, I think the data center was probably harder because of the Mystic Oral School project. People were already geared up. They already felt like they weren't listened to. Even though they got what they wanted, they still are in the mindset they weren't listened to because they didn't feel like they were listened to. We need to think about, how people are feeling about it, and then
Susan, please hold.
provide the vehicles to make that connection and give that satisfaction.
Well, I have to interject that I understand thank you, Bill, that what Bill's saying, and I respect what you're saying too, Mike, but I know the instances where they bring an attorney, they bring, there's multiple people speaking to the same issue, and it's passionate and it's genuine. But I think if it becomes a monopolized situation, there are other people that attend the meetings, and I think it has to be fair, fair opportunity for other people that attend the meetings. But I see from both Bill and Mike what you're saying. I think both are valid.
There's a Confucius saying, you have the right to speak, but when it infringes my right to speak, then you're wrong.
Paige,
That's a good one.
Paige, you want to take us home on this?
Yeah, I'm going to be as brief. I know to move along. I hear all these comments, and I don't disagree with the philosophy. Being an insider in watching all of the emails coming in, the meetings that were taking place with people that were interested in hearing more, and forums, in the case of the Mystic Education Center, the web page that was constructed to disseminate information, I take away the fact that I can't think of any other developments that have occurred, at least in my history in Groton, that had that level of information. Most of the time people find out about it through an advertisement. They show up to a board, commission, planning, zoning commission. They have a one-time opportunity to quickly learn and to come and make their comments. These public projects go far and beyond in trying to provide information, and to date, it really has not helped. I understand about perception, but for many of them, you can never provide enough information.
Right.
So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Paige. Okay, so we're going to move on to the staff report. And before we start, because I know it's in there, I did receive a letter late regarding a development that's still in the process of trying to get recruitment in. I believe, I have it somewhere here. And I don't think it got into your packages. I'll have Lauren send it out to you. But it was from the Groton Conservation Advocates, which is not the commission. And there was a concern about one of the schools, Pleasant Valley, I believe. And they were worried about the trees coming down on it. I don't even know how to respond because we don't have anything that's even, it's out for bid at this point in time to get people interested to come into it, but we will put that in the package. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that I did receive it. It will be sent out to you. And if anyone wants to discuss it at the next meeting, that's fine. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Paige.
Okay, thank you. Not in the monthly report, but I wrote down some notes quickly as we talked about vacant buildings and how we need to attract investors and to open up new businesses. I did not put it in the monthly, but many of you may know, if you don't, former Lazy Boy store. That is, a lot of work is being done on that recently. It's being converted into a O'Reilly's Auto, which is really interesting because going back to 2015, we did the market analysis. One of the deficiencies from a retail standpoint was auto parts. And we said, well, we already have we already have an auto zone. Well, how many more do we need? Well, clearly the market also saw it that way. So now we're gonna have an O'Reilly Auto in part of it. The other part, there'll be a restaurant slash bar with indoor axe throwing. What could go wrong? I think there'll
Indoor
be
what again? Indoor what?
one remaining retail space left in that particular building.
Page, indoor what?
It would be an indoor restaurant and bar with indoor axe throwing as
Oh
a
my God.
recreation component.
Oh, that will be very helpful after a few
Be ready
Guinnesses.
to duck.
No,
Ducks are okay, but
I'm sure it'll be fun.
They do it in
Um,
Montville, it's perfectly safe.
wow.
So just moving through the list real quick, ARPA is a big deal. We continue with the budget simulator. And we are in process of going to the council with the bucket, so to speak, the categories in trying to prioritize the funding based on the categories in compliance with federal guidance. As a part of that, we continue to promote through Greater Groton the that particular tool in driving people to the budget simulator. Please look at the metrics at the end of the report on your own regarding Greater Groton. We're using that more and more as a public engagement tool. And I think the metrics demonstrate that it's getting traction. Kind of back on the news of how, what can we do to get the word out rather than allowing everyone through emails and their own blogs and the day. We're trying to use Greater Groton to collectively inform people about initiatives and try to actually collect their input so that we can base it off of facts rather than something less than factual. Also, we're in the process of doing our Explore More website refresh. I also want to call your attention under the marketing. There's a website that we did a Groton advertisement this year in the Connecticut section in Site Selector magazine. Please go back and take a look at that. It actually is quite good. And I thank both Lauren and Sam. The Neighborhood Assistance Act, we accepted applications by March 30th. If anyone has questions on that, please let me know. We end up going to the council with all of these applications. It's basically a business credit program. That is a state program. Ultimately, once we get through the town council, we'll forward that information on to the state. Bonding rating review, our department was active in a recent bond review with 3 agencies, Fitch, Moody's, and Standard & Poor's. And I think they were pretty positively impressed with what's happening in Groton. I think that helped with a favorable rating with a bond reissuance of, I believe, something like $26 million. So every little bit actually helps regarding our value of those bonds. Data centers, we've already covered that. Basically, council had a meeting on March 29th and voted to end discussions with the data center developer on Flanders Road. Regarding public property redevelopment, no real change with Mystic Education Center. The same with Groton Heights, the same with the Gold Star Highway from what you read. Also Triton Square, we're waiting for that to come forward, but they're still finishing their zoning appeal. Colonel Ledyard School, there has been momentum on that. Bell site came before the cow on March 22nd. The purpose of that meeting was to compare the refined plans for that redevelopment with the initial conceptual plans. The council had to sanction that to say that there wasn't any significant alteration and that it's moving in the right direction. They did do that. They did agree. So next step, they move on to the city planning and zoning commission with their site plan. I guess the last thing
Where was that for? Excuse me. Where was that for?
Colonel Ledyard School.
Oh, Colonel Ledyard. Yeah.
on
Okay.
West
Thank you.
Street.
Yeah.
The last point is the unemployment data. Slight uptick. I don't really know exactly why, but we were trending down and there has been a slight uptick recently. Thank you.
So Paige,
Thank you, Paige.
I
George,
mean,
Yeah.
what about the city of Groton is having does the Greater Groton website capture what the city of Groton is trying to fulfill on April 19th, April 14th?
I'm actually going to ask Sam to try to answer that, but we try to partner with the city on as many items as we can with our website, Greater Groton. Sam, do you happen to know, or Lauren, if that item has been captured on Greater Groton?
Well, we work with them very closely. We've invited them to use this platform for any project that they'd like to. I'm not familiar specifically with that platform. I have spoken with Sierra regarding the Thames Street visioning, and there were a couple of technical reasons why they didn't move forward with hosting information about their Thames Street visioning project on Greater Groton. But again, this has just been a handful of months that we've had this up. And if you're aware of anything, you want to send me an email. Otherwise, we're always willing to work with the folks at the city.
thanks, Sam. Thank you, Paige.
Yeah, good information. Thank you.
Always good. And I always do a shout out, because I'll tell you that Greater Groton page, that is a great way for people to voice what they wanted to do. Sam and team did a great job on putting it together. The graphics are great. It kind of draws people in, but it gives people immediate feedback. So the ones that can't attend the meetings and voice their opinions on stuff, I think this kind of goes to Robert's thing, is it's a way of collecting data.
Yeah.
And real data from people, not from what our perceptions are on it. So as I said, great efforts, and I would encourage everyone, and if you ever want to talk to someone about something, that's something to refer them to see what's
That's
going
good.
on in town.
Good reminder. Leanne has her hand up, I think. I don't know. Maybe
She's kept it on the whole time, but
Oh,
that's all right. She's gonna get to give her liaison report
my-
soon anyway.
Right.
So
I'm sorry, on my screen, it says hand lowered, but could I just mention one thing? I know I'm
Sure.
supposed to be here to listen, but you know me.
yeah, but we're in liaison reports, so you get to report right now. So go ahead.
there you go.
Really not much has been going on with the RTM. We'll be starting up pretty strong very soon.
Okay.
And maybe the night that we talk about the budget for EDC, planning and zoning, you could attend the RTM meeting. But the other thing that was of concern, and Paige may know more about this than I, but I've heard some scuttlebutt, and I don't know if there's anything to it, but I was told that the planning and zoning is contemplating a permanent moratorium on IT buildings in Groton. And so you might want to be watching your planning and zoning meetings. And if that looks like it might go forward, I would think that this committee might want to voice its concerns. So, for what it's worth.
Thank you, Leanne. Yes, Paige.
I just want to confirm, I have not been attending those meetings, but that is what I've heard. They're reacting to the concern about the data center project on Flanders and maybe throughout all of Groton, I'm not sure. And they are interested in possibly prohibiting them through a moratorium. They're also upset about the interpretation by the zoning official, which would be the building official, questioning why that interpretation occurred, and saying that data center use was allowed in an industrial zone, but by law, actually, that is exactly right. The building official, zoning official is the entity. It's not a commission that interprets, administers, enforces. It's administration that does that.
Thank you, Paige, for clarification on that. Leanne, anything else for RTM or no?
I don't think so right now, but if anything comes up, I'll send you an email
Well, great. As
uh,
always, great to see you and glad you're on board again, even in
I
a different
love
capacity.
being here. Thank you so
And
much for having me back.
And
One
I
other
like
bit of
this name.
information I got today for liaison is David McBride has been appointed by the town council to be our liaison for them. So I know we had brought it up last meeting, getting a liaison from them, and that's who was voted on, and got that today in an email.
Good,
Susan?
that's good to know. Yeah, that's good. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you had something else, Dad.
Oh, well, first of all, I want to say it's really wonderful having Leanne in the fold, and she always has a lot to add that's really helpful, especially history that we can draw on. And yeah, I'm glad to see that we had a liaison for the town council, because that we didn't have one for a while. So,
Good. You're very important. It's a very important group.
Absolutely. Any other business to come before tonight?
no, good job, Bill.
You just keep buttering me up, Susan. I get it. I'm not stupid.
You're doing a good job. You are so good. The
He's
best
trying to whittle
ever.
a raise out of you.
Yeah, right.
I'll buy you coffee.
So no other business coming before. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
Do I have a
All
second?
good.
Second,
Great to see you guys.
meeting's
You too,
adjourned.
Leanne.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
See you in person in May.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.